Hey everyone, this is Tali SoundWave from Fate's Flare Cosplay, and I'm here to show you how I made an adorable Serow Goat Kigu for my friend Mr. Shrike. Here are just a few pictures of the final product, and I'm super happy how this turned out for only being my second Kigu build. And for this video I have a lot to cover, so we're gonna get moving pretty quick here. Okay, so for the first Kigu pattern I made was for the Frack Attack Kigu, and I reverse engineered it from a Kigu I previously bought. And I did this by laying it out and tracing it onto paper and taking a lot of measurements. Note that I did not have to destroy my Kigu in order to make the Frack Attack pattern. So in this video I'm going to use the Frack Attack Kigu pattern and modify it for the Goat Kigu. So Mr. Shrike is 62 inch from wrist to wrist and about 60 inches from ankle to shoulder. These are the main measurements I use for building a Kigu for a client. And the Frack Attack pattern is about 62 inches from wrist to wrist, but only about 49 inches from ankle to shoulder. So I have to add about 11 inches to the leg pattern. But I'm happy that I can use the arm pattern from the Frack Attack Kigu as is. Next I need to remake the body pattern, and I do this by unrolling a giant sheet of postal wrapping paper I got at Joann's and marking where Shrike's ankles should be on the goat pattern, and in pencil I trace the top part of the Kigu since that will remain the same. And once I get to the leg portion, I'm going to scoot down my pattern so I can trace the same general leg shape because I want to keep them basically the same. I decided to try to keep the drop crotch at the same height as the Frack Kigu because I didn't want the Goat Kigu to have too stumpy of legs when Mr. Shrike has pretty long legs compared to us shorty squad people. This way he can rock around without too much of a waddle, though it is pretty adorable to see. Now I'm going to lower the markings for the pockets a little. I didn't want them to be too high up on the new extended body, but I think I'm going to keep the pockets in the same location for future projects because they came out a little lower than I would have liked. Next, I mark everything. I make as many notes on the pattern itself as I can. I do this so when I look at this pattern 2 years from now, I want to know exactly what the heck 26-year-old Tali was doing. So I mark where the pockets should connect, where the sleeve should go, where the hood connects, what the wrist to wrist and ankle to shoulder measurements are, and what Kigu I made this for. Then after that I solidify the pattern in black Sharpie and double check my measurements are correct. Then I start cutting the thing out. For the white and orange belly pattern, I traced our new goat pattern in pencil on a new piece of paper, and I marked where the drop crotch is so I can tell how far the belly pattern should go. The top orange fur pattern I mostly eyeballed and made sure the fur started a little bit above the bottom of the arm because no one wants furry armpits. And as for the white belly, I took the belly pattern from the Frack Attack and traced the shape. I didn't want to make the belly too wide or else it would stretch to the sides of the goat. Now this is the tricky part. In the end, I need to make a 2-inch wide strip of fabric that runs down the length of the belly. This is where I will sew the buttons onto the Kigu. So on my patterns, I leave a 1-inch strip in dotted lines that will add up to 2 inches when I cut out the pattern. And then I solidify the pattern in black Sharpie and mark the 1-inch strip in red Sharpie and label what the heck that line means because I will forget about it later. And then I will cut out each piece and label it. I also made an orange fur back pattern that I forgot to record, but you'll see a piece of it later. So then I cut out all of my patterns and then I label them and I'll put those off to the side, and the next part is to grab our fabric and start cutting out the actual pieces. A very important rule, I give all the pieces I cut out here a 1 centimeter seam allowance. This will be really important once we get to the sewing bit of things. First, the white belly, I use a chalk pen and trace the pattern and mark that 1-inch strip and then use a ruler to make a straight line. and then I cut out the pattern and cut off that 1-inch strip because I'm going to make a 2-inch strip for the buttons later in the process. And then I flip over the pattern and do this process twice. I trace around the entire pattern and then mark where that 1-inch strip mark is. And then I'll straighten out that line with a ruler and then cut out the patterns themselves with removing that 1-inch strip. Now for the orange fur, I use an X-Acto knife so I don't cut any of the fur fibers, but I do the same thing here as I did with the white pattern, and I trace and mark the 1-inch line and then cut the pattern out with a 1 centimeter seam allowance. And there you can see the little bit of my back pattern. Now onto the body. The goat body is much larger than my table, so there's going to be a lot of shifting around that I have to do. Now, unlike our other pieces, I want the front and the back piece to be one piece. So the front will be one big round piece and the back will also be its own big piece. So I will not be cutting it down the middle. Also, if you build a Kigu, remember to mark where your pockets will be on the body of the fabric. I always forget to do this. Now I'm going to trace and cut out my goat belly pattern out of the body fabric, remembering that the body fabric has a 1 centimeter seam allowance, so I align everything accordingly. And I want this part to be one big piece, so I'm going to flip my pattern and cut it all out. Now I'm going to cut out a 2-inch strip of fabric. That will be where I place my buttons. So I take the entire length of my belly pattern and trace it. Then I'm going to give it a 4-inch width. This is because once I cut it out, I will fold it to make a 2-inch strip. I draw this pattern twice, and the final result will be one strip laying on top of the other. The front one will have the buttonholes, and the back one will have the actual buttons on it. Alright, almost done! So now to cut up the sleeves. I kept the arm pattern simple by keeping it the same color as the body. So I traced and cut the same pattern for both the front and the back of the sleeves, and I did this twice for both arms. Alright, now you just made it through part 1 of 3 on how I made this Kigu. Part 2 will be how I make the hood, and part 3 will be how I put all the pieces together. So thanks again for joining me on my Kigu journey, and I hope this video helped you, and if it did, please leave a like and maybe a comment, and go ahead and massage that subscribe button. It's tired after cutting out all that fabric. So hope to see you guys on part 2. Alright, bye!